you would like to report?
Yes, Madam Chair, there are a few things I just want to brief the council on. The first is we had an interagency meeting. We are a cooperating agency on the EIS with South Fork. South Fork is the Deepwater project. It consists of 90 megawatts, approximately up to 15 towers. They're using what's called an envelope concept with BOEM these days. And what that essentially means is there are undefined parameters that the applicant is still allowed to essentially go up to the day of construction without really defining. One of those parameters, for instance, is foundation types. So whether they're using gravity-based, monopile, or jacketed systems is still up in the air. Hopefully that will be decided on fairly shortly. But the other thing is the machine size itself. The machines can range from 6 megawatts, which are used in the Deepwater project, up to right now, they're looking at a GE 12 megawatt machine. So that would reduce the number of machines necessary within the footprint. They have a footprint defined. They're going through the process. Deepwater will be filing a consistency certification with it very shortly. However, Deepwater has indicated that they're willing to go east-west, which is what the fishermen are looking for. And while they haven't conceded up to this point in time, they will be looking at potentially one of the layouts does include one nautical mile spacing. So that will address a lot of the fishery concerns. There's still other mitigation concerns that will be necessary to be addressed in terms of lost production while construction is going on, because this is likely to overlap with several of the other wind farm projects. And so there will be a lot of equipment offshore and disruption to the fishery during the construction period. So that's underway. Council received 2 new positions last budget. They are both ocean engineering positions, principal and ocean engineer positions. We are sort of shifting from our civil engineers that we've had in the past to going to ocean engineers. One, because of the focus with the offshore, and the ocean engineers are obviously trained in that, but the ocean engineers also have civil background. And the nice thing about ocean engineers is they know about things like waves and currents and tides, whereas the civils a lot of times have no idea. So both of those positions were approved. Budget has now authorized us to go out to a posting for those, which means that we'll be hiring for those positions.
What's the criteria? Do they need a master's in that?
Master's is preferable, but they need at least a bachelor's and a EIT. And we're looking for candidates. We're not getting the same caliber of candidates back in as we've been losing. We've been losing PEs and getting EITs back in because we just don't have the benefits anymore. And a new kid coming out of school can make more than our top engineers. So, anyhow, the third thing I wanted to let you know is that there's a working group called the Cable Working Group. Bay Samp is actually sort of informally started up. We haven't had a formal startup of that exercise yet. But there's a cable working group that's an early establishment within the Bay Samp to look at cable routes within the bay and trying to designate cable routes as part of our planning and activity so that we can try to define where these go and have a state preferred corridor for these. That will control some of the potential spaghetti development that's starting to appear offshore in terms of all these projects taking different routes and all the rest of it. So as they enter state waters, we have a lot more control over those. And the cable working group now is bringing in the fishery interest. Department of Environmental Management sits on that. So it brings in their interest, the Coast Guard, NOAA. So there's a lot of the stakeholders that we find within the bay sit on that cable working group and help us try to figure out what the best alternatives are for cable routes. Right now, there are 2 major corridors that are being looked at. One is the Secundit, and the other is West Passage. East Passage is a complete no-go because of the Department of Defense interest in that area. So they will be having another working group meeting the 27th, Dawn Energy or Orsted or Bay State, whatever you want to call them, will be coming into that meeting and making a presentation on what they're looking at, and Bay State is focusing in on the Secana route. There are some issues with the Secana route. We're trying to work those out. The fishermen also have a lot of concerns because some of the major recruitment areas for lobster offshore are where they're proposing to put the route right now. And so we're going to try to look at some realignments for that. We have gotten comments from BOEM on our GLD request. The GLD stands for the Geographic Location. This is the expansion of our Federal Consistency Authority over the wind energy areas in Massachusetts. So we're reviewing the comments right now on our request. Once we have had that discussion internally, we will be filing with NOAA. It looks as if a lot of the comments that BOEM has provided us, we could probably accept. There are some others that we're going to, I think, agree to disagree on.
Yes.
And we will be filing with NOAA at that point for the GLD, which we will be eligible to do, I think, on the 19th. Is it?
Correct. That the September 19th is the earliest that we could file our GLD request with NOAA.
And last but not least, Grid and Deepwater both, as I informed you, had exposed cables going into New Shore. They are coming and meeting with us on the 24th to sort of present some sort of long-term solution. Both have been pursuing a short-term solution. Deepwater's in fact covered their cables, and Grid has got a proposal to bring some cover material in on their cable, but they're both looking at a longer-term solution at this point to try to deal with that issue.
The Bay State project kind of group, does that go to Great Point?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's a good one, I guess, if you can get it up the river, I don't know if you can. Through the
Yeah,
Stone Bridge.
Deepwater's looking at coming into potentially Quonset. We're going up a little further and going to the major grid transfer point in Warwick. And Quonset would require some upgrades, but they could do Quonset too. I think there's an obvious desire by some in the state to keep that transfer point within the state. So, and as I told you, there are actually 3 projects that Deepwater is working on. One in this Southport project is a cable line that will go into the east, or the southern portion of Long Island, the eastern end of it. Then they are looking at, they've been awarded a 200 megawatt project for Connecticut out of the Rhode Island wind energy area, and also 400 megawatt from Rhode Island. So 700 megawatts approximately they're looking at for development right now. And so they expect to follow up sometime in 19 with another COP, construction operation plan, and federal consistency certification for the other. It's called Revolution Wind, but it's actually 2 projects beside Revolution.
You mentioned 6 meg to 12 meg.
Yeah.
When they come in and ask, when they come in with a proposal, are they bidding the megawatts, or are they bidding numbers of units?
They're bidding megawatts.
And so, okay, so if they go to 12 versus 6, then they're gonna cut them in half?
Yeah.
Which probably drives their cost down substantially, keeps the fishermen happier.
Yeah, they can go to larger spacing, less machines. The newer technologies, these machines, I mean, the Deepwater machines offshore are just amazing pieces of equipment. They essentially run themselves. They've got self-diagnostics. It's just...
Maybe we should take a field trip to Italy or wherever they are, you know.
Make that motion. No one wants to say.
It's France, actually.
Okay.
That's okay. The land's in Italy. We're
That's
way
true.
over there.
That's true.
The canal and stuff.
Yeah. So that's it.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Fugate? Okay, proceeding to the first item, enforcement case before the council for order to restore. I understand that Mr. Wills provided a continuance to council.
Yes, we did, Madam Chair, and primarily due to a staff reason more than a continuance request.
And so will that be date certain 9/25?
Correct.
Okay.
It's appropriate to do that by motion.
Okay, so I'll take a motion from council member to move the matter 2017-047 from this evening to our meeting on September 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.